Hi, everybody. This is Seren Mikhailis, and today I will be responding to some comments, and I would be addressing the fear of going to hell. Fear of hell. Okay, let's look at some comments. One comment is from it's from I'm a Grumpy Old Man, and he said, "Well done. Maybe you are thinking about Christianity more seriously now." I think he left that comment on Christian themes of Dorian Gray. And Dorian Gray is a really scary book. The reason why I brought it up so much is because it really did frighten me. It was, scary. Like, Dorian Gray, to me, was very similar to what A Letter from Hell was to Hunter Avalon. Like, Hunter Avalon talked about reading about a letter from hell, and he talked about how a letter from hell left him traumatized as a kid. And I could see how, because it was all like, I wish you were here. Like, your friend goes to hell, and when your friend goes to hell and meets Satan, it is kind of like, I wish you were here. It's just creepy. And that is it's a creepy book. Like, for me, it's kind of, it kind of reawakened a fear of hell in me. It just reawakened that. But, fortunately, I already heard of Dark Matter 2525, and I rewatched some of those videos to come down. But I mean, that was a really scary book that could incite to fear and hell in you. Because the Christian themes of it was very, very strong. It's very strong, but it does make me question the portraits itself. And the reason why it makes me question the portraits itself is that, I'm going to play a different version for you. Here's the version I'm going to play.
It knows what I've done, what I'm doing, and its vile features alter with every sin I commit, every pain I inflict. It even knows my plans. I've seen it change in response to deeds not yet done.
That is true. It responds to things that he hasn't even done yet, which makes me think that the portraits was probably controlling him, along with Lord Henry. I think Lord Henry was supposed to represent Mephistopheles, and that perhaps the portraits represents Satan. And the reason why I think, it's a tag team between Mephistopheles or Lord Henry and Satan is because the portraits, how could it change to things that he didn't even do yet? It's like he hasn't done it yet, so how could it change? It's kind of a lot like before he killed himself accidentally, the portraits showed him with blood on the other hand, like two hands were covered in blood instead of one hand being covered with blood. And not only was like the other hand covered in blood, but it's like fresh blood. It's like fresh blood. So he stabbed at the portraits to get rid of evidence and thusly killing himself. But it's that the portraits incited that. Like, if the portraits never showed that, would he really kill a different person? Would he really have killed a different person if the portraits, didn't show blood on the other hand? Blood on the other hand, or yeah, Fresh Blood, it seems like the portrait was encouraging him to kill himself, or the incident with Syllable Vein, where, there's a cruel joy in him when really, when really he didn't even know she was dead. He didn't even know. He was just mean, but he didn't know she was dead. It was Lord Henry that's got rid of all of his guilt. And while it's easy to be like, yep, glad I'm a Christian now, I mean, I wouldn't be in a hurry to say that. The reason why I wouldn't be in a hurry to say that is because I do think that Dorian Gray is more human than people would like to give him credit for. I mean, when he looked at his picture on how he treated Syllable Vein, he thought, had I been cruel? Like, had I been cruel? Really? And, when it comes to the feminist community, the feminists, they say that, the anti-feminists are cruel to them. And using Twitter, I would see that for myself. I would see, anti-feminists being mean to feminists, or Christiosity would take screenshots of the mean, vile, vicious things anti-feminists say to her, like an anti-feminist told Christiosity that he wished she was dead, or, he wished she would kill herself. It's like, I really mean it. I really sincerely mean it. I really hope you die and whatnot. And, the ranting feminist also shows screenshots of horrible, terrible, nasty things that anti-feminists, said. And, I'm pretty sure that's, if it is like your portraits showing all of your sins, you'd probably be like, had I been cruel? And it's kind of like, well, how you treat feminists aren't all that nice. Feminists are people too. Feminists are also human. I mean, do they deserve to be called weirdo, freak, ugly, gross? Do feminists really deserve that? I mean, let's think about it. Do feminists really deserve the, nastiness they go through from anti-feminists? And other times, it's justified. Other times, there is a mountain full of excuses. Like, well, you deserved it. And it's like, well, why? It's kind of like this issue with Sargon and Christiosity. Sargon, got Christiosity banned from Twitter based off what other feminists believe in. He kicked her from Twitter because other feminists believe in such and such. And it's kind of like she isn't drinking her medicine, or she isn't taking her own medicine. She is taking medicine that she didn't even dish out. What Sargon did was wrong. And yet you see his fans making all of these excuses for that cruelty. I mean, a lot of the things that Dorian did was, rather a bit normal. Not all of it. I don't think many of us would cross the line to killing a friend. But again, I do think that Dorian Gray was being controlled by the portraits. He had no interest in killing Basil until he looked at his portraits. It is only when he looked at his portraits did he have a strong desire to kill Basil. Otherwise, he had no interest to killing Basil. It's why I believe that the portraits was controlling him. Like, no interest in killing Basil, looks at the portraits, suddenly an uncontrollable desire to kill Basil. So I do wonder, is, Dorian Gray really looking at his elderly self, Or was he being controlled by the devil every time he looks at his portraits? And does he gradually become worse and worse and worse each time he looks at the portraits? Is Lord Henry, really Mephisto? But still, back to, I'm a grumpy old man's question. Did it make me think of Christian more seriously? Of course it did. It really is like a letter from hell, but creepier. Like a letter from hell, but for adults, because I would never let a child read The Picture of Dorian Gray because it is nightmarish and creepy and gives you the shivers. But at the exact same time, I think the falling out from it actually hurts Christianity all the same. Because the book, The Picture of Dorian Gray, while it may, feel, I'm a grumpy old man, feel great as a Christian, it was used against its author. The person who wrote it was Oscar Wilde. And it was used as proof of his homosexuality. And he was to serve 2 years of hard labor for being gay. Because if you pay attention to Leviticus, being gay is a sin. And the punishments for being gay is death. Like the Bible says, being gay is an abomination. And the penalty is death. So it's kind of a lot like Oscar Wilde created the most evil person ever, a person that people could ubiquitously, agree that, yeah, he would probably belong to such a place. But the problem is, he made a book that Christians like, yes, this is going to give us some converts. The problem is that very book got Oscar Wilde sent to manual labor and probably even shortened his lifespan. When he was released from prison, he died 2 years later because being gay is a sin according to Christianity. That means that being a good, decent, wonderful gay guy is the equivalent to murdering your friend, or being an atheist. Being an atheist also would land you to hell. Being an atheist will get you sent to hell for all of eternity, even if you lived a good, decent, humble, good, clean life, a life better than some Christians. You would still get sent to hell for all of eternity for being an atheist. Now, does that make sense that being an atheist is the equivalent to being a serial killer? It's all the same to God. You see, and so while the book itself may have helped Christianity, what happened to its author hurts Christianity. Because it's kind of like it reminds people that even if you're gay and a decent person, you can still be thrust into hell for all of eternity, which most people think is unfair, because it's not a matter of do Adolf Hitler deserve to go to hell for all of eternity, which if you heard of that question for the very first time, you're probably like, yeah, sure. But the problem comes when if you are merely an atheist, or if you are merely, if you practice the wrong version of Christianity, like maybe you are a Catholic and maybe that's the wrong version, or maybe you're a Pentecostal and that's the wrong version, or according to the Quran, Christians are infidels. So as a Christian, you would be going to hell for all of eternity. Why? You're an infidel according to the Quran. So according to the Quran, you belong in hell for all of eternity. And to Muslims, you're not even human. I mean, welcome to the atheist world, Welcome to the atheist world where it doesn't matter if you try to live a good, decent life and try to do good and be at your best and do the best you can, If you're an atheist, you're just going to spend all of eternity in hell. But if you're a Christian, we got to be the right version of Christian. You can't be a Catholic, or you can't be, whatever. You got to be the right version, because apparently there are loads of Christians who aren't true Christians, so even they would go to hell. And it would cause anxiety, unnecessary anxiety, to the people who are viewed as not good enough to go to heaven, So, yeah, that's my take on it. That's just my take on things. And, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. There was another person who did say something a lot like, well, it's Dorian Gray's about how we obsess over beauty. But, I mean, the Christian themes were a lot stronger, and if it's going to be about, obsession with beauty, I think that Disney's Beauty and the Beast covered better, a lot better. And I also think Disney's or whatever, Shrek, I think Shrek also covered this a lot better. I just don't think that if it's about our obsession with beauty, I don't think he did a good job at covering it, because the Christian themes are just way too strong. So, anyway, you know what to do. Bye-bye.